Welcome, Dr. Morancie.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm happy that you're here, and this is a do-over for us because we had a little internet hiccups when we recorded before, and I loved that conversation. So thank you for doing this again.
No problem. I hope it's as enlightening as the last one.
It will be. It will be. Well, first, I want to know how you're doing today. Are you okay today?
I am okay. It's been an interesting couple of days. you
Yeah,
know.
it's
So
early in the school year,
it's
obviously.
early in the school year. I had a board meeting last night.
Mhm.
And so after the board meetings, it's always a little bit of recovery time is necessary.
Yeah.
And I was just say I don't know if I want to talk about my memory and how it's causing me anxiety because some things happened during the meeting last night that made me not feel so great. But I'm trying to just move on.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, whatever you're dealing with, we all deal with that thing.
yeah. That's what I keep
Yeah.
telling myself
It
that.
is, especially if it's a memory. We all deal with that. We all do. No matter what age.
Yeah, that's what I have to keep telling myself. But I think it's particularly anxiety producing for me because of my mom,
Oh,
and
really?
she has dementia, so I worry
Yeah.
about the genetics of that,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. It's funny we're even starting down this path because I definitely want to do an episode around aging,
mhm.
you know, particularly women and how we feel about aging, and then, just society and our communities and the messages that we get around aging.
Yeah, we could talk a lot about that
Mhm.
because being in a public position, we know how ageism is a thing.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so that's why it makes me a little anxious as well.
Yeah. And I think it's about not getting, and I mean, it's not easy for me, but I think, even for myself, it's about not getting attached to things, because when I really think about it, I feel like everyone is afraid to die. And so I mean, no matter how old, you could be
Mhm.
25, a 25-year-old is afraid to die. And so they project that on, to somebody who's older than them, to me.
Well, you know what? I've been through so many, life changing things that I'm not necessarily afraid to die because I've been in situations where I was like on the edge.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so it's not, I'm not afraid. It's just the reactions of other people.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, as you're getting older.
That's exactly what I mean. I really feel the same, but I feel that that fear out there is a projection
Yeah. Yeah.
onto us. Yeah.
And people are like, well, as you get older, you can't do certain things. And, I feel like I was telling one of my friends that as I'm getting older, I feel like I have a lot of wisdom to share. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I wish I had it when I was younger, but then I wouldn't have because I was younger. So
Yeah. 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 So true. So true.
Mhm.
So, along these lines, I wanted to talk about some of the things we brought up in the first conversation, and really you talked about some experiences you had. You had an accident a couple of years ago where you were physically hit
Mhm.
by a vehicle. And if you could talk about that. And as we were talking about it, it was, the things that occurred as a result. And then just, it seemed like there was an awareness, well, you're still here and
Yeah.
there's more for you to do by the mere fact that you are still here. God
Yeah.
has more for you.
This week, no, last week was the second anniversary of that accident.
Really?
So I was going through some stuff last week,
Wow.
remembering what I could remember about what happened. And I realized I don't remember a lot of things, but um, yeah, it was, just crossing the street and getting hit by a car. And I don't know where it came. I don't remember where it came from. I don't know how long I was unconscious on the asphalt in the middle of
Mhm.
the road. And but when I woke up, I knew who I was. I could tell them things. I had my phone, so I could tell them who
Yeah.
to call and that kind of stuff. And then the recovery time was horrendous. And when I got to the hospital, I found out that I had a tear in my aorta and I had to have open heart surgery
And
that
that
day.
and you that was unrelated to the accident that you would have been not aware of?
Well, I don't, there's questions about that because I had gone to the cardiologist a few months earlier and they did testing, they didn't see anything. And but the surgeon said she thought that it was there already. So then I felt like, oh, this is why this happened. This actually saved my life
Wow.
because if nobody knew about it, when your aorta ruptures, that's usually pretty much it.
Eh, w
you know.
You had open heart surgery,
hmm
and you did you already have breast cancer?
I had breast cancer twice. I had it once when I was 40, and then 13 years later, when they say, after 5 years, you're good, you don't have to worry about it. 13 years later, I had a recurrence that I found quite by accident. Again, now that I think
Mm.
about it, that was by accident too,
Wow.
because I went in to have a breast reduction because from having radiation, the breast that had the cancer in it was much smaller than the other one. And I'm not a flat-chested girl. Never was.
Mhm.
So I wanted it to be evened out because it affects, your posture and
Mm.
whatnot. And so when the surgeon did it, and it was wonderful. They looked perky and so good. And he called me a couple of weeks later and said, well, we found cancer cells. And it was in the same breast that I had it before.
Wow.
So that was hard. And then I decided to have a double mastectomy because I didn't want to go through that again. So
Mm.
I had a surgery where I had the double mastectomy and they did the reconstruction at the same time.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's very long, and I found out afterwards quite dangerous surgery. But my surgeon was amazing, and he did a wonderful job. And-
Uh, why is a double mastectomy quite dangerous? I didn't.
well, it wasn't so much the double mastectomy; it was the reconstruction
Okay.
because they have to do like they took tissue from my lower abdomen
Mhm.
to rebuild the breast, but then they have to connect all of those blood vessels.
Yeah.
when they do that. So it's very technical, and
Mm-hmm.
it took a long time. I was in surgery for 12 hours.
My goodness.
And what I found out afterwards, what my son told me, is that sometimes it goes bad,
Mm-hmm.
and tissue will die. So I was really lucky and
Mhm.
didn't have any of that happen.
Well, we're going to get into some things, but as you're talking, I'm thinking about you as an empath,
Mm,
work that you do as a psychologist, and uh, as a board member, and what you've been through physically, and you have a lot of resilience, and from body to mind to spirit to
yeah.
me. And what comes to you around that? And what do you think that God uh, has had for you to do? Like, how does your calling in what you do tie in with God? But first, what do you think about the first part of what I said?
Of being an empath.
Being an empath and the resilience of you in mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, it took me a long time to realize how empathic I am. And that can be difficult at times because I take on other people's stuff.
Hmm.
So I had to learn how to take time for myself so that I could let that go, and how to, like, schedule myself so that I'm not in situations where I'm taking in a lot of other people's stuff.
Yeah.
And being a psychologist, it's hard to do that sometimes
Yes.
because that's my job. And
Yes.
but I've learned over the course of my career how to manage it, you know.
Yeah.
And I've had to really call on my spirituality to help me. And because I believe that if you're not an empath, you don't understand how overwhelming it can be.
Hmm.
And I tend to, like my sister-in-law once told me, she says, I know that when we go out, that when you're done, you're done. And you just leave. And I'm like, yep. Like, if I get too much negative vibes, I leave.
Yeah.
And she says, yeah, I know that about you. and
Yeah. Yeah.
and like, I will go places, but I have to have my car with me. So, like, I don't like to travel with other people because when I need to leave, I need to leave.
I'm the same way. And for me, it doesn't necessarily have to always be negative energy. It could just be a lot of energy.
Just too
Uh,
much
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just too much. And I didn't know about, I guess, really to have that characteristic. It was probably in the last 7 years, I would say, where I started to understand what that characteristic is, because I just thought everybody was this way, or, they just were choosing not to, I guess, live in that space. But
Mhm.
it really is something to be that way, because you can, like we're saying, you can take all this stuff on and become sick.
Yeah.
And I had a therapist once who told me that what she would do is, before starting her workday, she would um, do a meditation where she was surrounded by roses.
Mm.
That would be like her protection for, her workday before engaging with her clients.
Yeah, I used to, like, have sage in my office, and candles, and just to even out that energy. And
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, and at the end of the day, like, I never did therapy full time. like all day.
Mhm.
So at the end of the time I was seeing patients, I would just take some time and, I
Yeah.
have to just wind down,
Yeah.
and then with it was interesting with COVID when I was doing telehealth,
Mhm.
because it took some adjustment because I wasn't able to fully see who the person,
Oh,
and I get a lot of information from body language.
yeah.
So that it took me a good while to be able to be comfortable with that.
I was just about to ask you if, in addition to, like, physically feeling energy, do you find that you intuitively can read somebody's energy?
I can.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I
And
do too.
and I may not say anything,
Exactly.
but but I can. Yeah.
Yeah. And I recently got into an exchange with one of my loved ones because there was somebody on, I was looking at a podcast, and this particular person, for whatever reason, I'm not saying this is a bad person, but I just was not feeling their energy. I mean, when I say feeling, like, I wasn't comfortable with their energy, and it was affecting my energy watching them on this podcast. And
Mhm.
so I said, why am I watching this? Because it has me not feeling good. And it didn't have to do with, the actual words they were saying. It had to do with the energy that I was
That
feeling.
you're picking up. Yeah.
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 I know exactly what you're talking about. And if there's too much going on, like now, um, with what's going on in the world, it is hard for me.
Yeah.
And, I have to just do things that bring me joy,
Mhm.
and stay away from things in the media because it my friends will tell me you are just in your head too much, and but I don't know how to not do that,
Mhm.
you know
Mhm.
so the way that I handle it is I journal,
Yeah.
and that kind of helps me.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. But you've also done inner work to even have that awareness
Yeah.
of how to protect yourself and when to step away, and the tools, to help
Yeah.
you.